Hey everybody, welcome back to Conquest of Aya. I know it's been a little bit since I recorded a video, but with the holidays coming up, it's been a little busy. But I had some time today, so I figured I'd do kind of two videos in one. I know I said I was going to cover the event that we held, the casual Conquest Day at Titan Games and Hobbies, and the event went awesome. We had like 9 people playing, and then some people coming in and out, like watching the games, asking questions, buying starter sets. So it was very successful, and we're definitely going to have a growing Conquest community there at Titan Games. It actually went so well, we have a tournament scheduled for January 7th. We have 7 people signed up right now. Hopefully we're going to get to 10 or 12. And if you're anywhere in the Maryland area around Timonium is where Titan Games and Hobby is, feel free to sign up if you want to make the trek. It's an awesome store. You'll actually see some pictures of the store and the tables and stuff that they have as I go over some of my games. So if you're anywhere near, feel free to go. It's on Best Coast Pairings, but I'll include a link in the video description below as well. To get 3 games in with my 100 Kingdoms, and this wasn't a tournament or anything, we just did a casual thing for our first event. Anybody could bring whatever they had, so I played a 1,500 point game and then 2,000 point full games, and we had all kinds of armies there. Old Dominion, as you see. We had my 100 Kingdoms, we had a couple Dwaycom players, Spires player, and 1 Nord player, I believe. So my first game I played against the Old Dominion, and it was actually the first time I played against the Fallen Divinity. I had no idea what it did, but I know now. That was an awesome game. It was just so cool to try and plan around, like, do I try and kill the Fallen Divinity early before I kill all his other stands and rank it up basically so it's basically not going to get killed. That's actually not ended up what happened. I tried to shoot some shots at it with crossbowmen and my militia bowmen, thinking I could whittle it down and then kill it before I killed any stands of his other stuff. But that just didn't work out, and his other stuff actually made contact with me, and then that Aura of Death is just brutal. My Knights charged some units, and they actually did really well, being veterans, and with the Mounted Noble Lord's Supremacy ability. But that's about the only thing that went well for my army, as soon as those Knights got held up, the Aura of Death killed them. The Men-at-Arms, not being able to heal them, really hurt because, yeah, they're not killing me really with their attacks, but they definitely were killing me with the Aura of Death, and so my Men-at-Arms weren't staying around. So I learned a lot that game for sure. In the next game, you can see that I played Dwaycom, and we were playing the new scenarios with the killable stands, which we both really enjoyed. And this game was a ton of fun, just a classic. You know, Dwaycom have really high armor, my Knights have pretty good cleave to get through it, and I actually took the Armor of Dominion on my Mounted Noble Lord, so he was really good getting stuck in that game, ignoring all the cleave from Dragon Slayers or any other of the Dwaycom things that, you know, cleave is really their thing in high armor. And once he touches the middle stand in a 3-stand unit, that's 3 stands wide, it turns off the cleave for everything he's touching, which really helped out. In my last game, I played another Dwaycom player, and we had a really close game, just trading units back and forth. And again, that Armor of Dominion really helped out. My Knights with veterans and the Mounted Noble Lord's Supremacy ability were just clearing up units on a flank and turn around, which was awesome. So we had a great time. I think everybody will come back for the tournament. Hopefully that was there. And hopefully I'll get some of these models actually painted up. Right now you can see I just have the militia bowmen, but I need to start painting my Men-at-Arms and the rest of the army. The goal is to have it all painted by January 7th, so we'll see how it works out. So on our main topic for today, we're going to talk about the 100 Kingdoms Chapter Mage. And this video came about because during that game against Old Dominion I was talking about, the whole time I was dying from their Aura of Death, I was thinking, man, I wish I had a Chapter Mage to heal these Men-at-Arms. So I figured I'd do a video on her, and she comes in at 50 points. She's Wizard level 5 and has Barrage 3 built in, and she can really add some awesome utility to the 100 Kingdoms that they just can't get any other way. So she has 4 different schools of magic that she can choose from, each at a different points cost, which we'll go over, and she has obviously some heirlooms and some retinue she can take that'll help her out as well. In her warband, the mainstays, core squires were just added, so when those models come out, I think that'll be really good to take with her because of how defensible you can make them. And right now it's just men-at-arms and crossbowmen. So really when you build her into your list, I've just thrown her in a unit of big men-at-arms, and I'm probably going to give her the water school for the healing spell, but we'll go over the spells here in a minute. For her spells, she can pick one of these 4 schools of magic, and she pays the points listed there after the school name, and she knows both of the spells once she pays those points. There's ways to cast one other spell from a different school or know one other spell from a different school, which we'll go over in the next slide. First, the School of Water, kind of the most popular one, and it's also the most expensive because of Nunya's Tears. For each success, you heal 2 wounds on the caster's regiment. It's a difficulty of 3. So she's a wizard 5, and there's ways to buff her up where she can get a guaranteed success, roll an extra dice, be an extra wizard level. So this all can stack to create some serious healing. I mean, you could be getting back up to 10 models in her regiment, and also with her supremacy ability that she can get, if you take the 100 Kingdoms option to give 2 models of supremacy ability, she can actually target a unit with this that's 8 inches away instead of just her regiment. And that's a great way to keep her safe while you're healing up, maybe a unit that's on a midfield objective. The other spell you're going to get, you're probably not going to cast it that often, is counting a unit as obscured, or giving it +1 defense if it's already obscured against enemies' range fire. This, can be situationally useful, but she's really only casting that one spell. But if you don't have anything to heal, and maybe you're playing marksman drones or some Dwaycombe, with the guys with the crossbows, this might help out a little bit, but really you're going to be casting a healing spell the vast majority of the time. The next school is probably the second most popular, is the School of Air, and it's really because of Seeking Winds, which is difficulty 3 scaling. So if you cast on a bigger unit, it gets a little harder, but like we talked about before, there are ways to buff for casting up where it's pretty easy to get this to go off, and it just means that your range unit is not obscured by range. So she can only take in her warband mercenary crossbowmen, but there is a way in 100 Kingdoms that you can buy an upgrade to let her start in the unit of another warband. So you could take 6 stands of longbows and have her in there just shooting over top of your units, but I don't even know if it's really worth it because mercenary crossmen are very good on their own, and the only downside is their 20-inch range, but with that armor piercing, and they can go up to that volley 3 with the take aim, getting full shots from 6 stands of crossbowmen for just 210 points can do a ton of damage. She's also going to get Guide, which is reroll 6s to hit when you're rolling for the volley actions, which again is a great buff as well. But with that one spell cast, you're really just going to be casting Seeking Winds to basically double your shots. But if the enemy gets close enough, you always have Guide in your back pocket. Next we come to the School of Earth, which is the cheapest, but also it has some pretty interesting spells in there. So I wouldn't overlook this school just because it's the cheapest, and water and air are pretty exciting. So Earth the Mud makes an enemy unit their charge or march action. They can only take that as their first action. So that effectively means your enemy unit that you cast this on can only move their unit 1 time. So there's no marching charging, there's no volleying and charging or attacking, so charging something else. This really restricts the options in a game like Conquest where the 2 actions are so important for each unit. You can really do a lot of interesting things with this. Actually, let me check the range right now in the army builder of that. It's 16 inches away, which is actually pretty far, so that your mage can sit somewhere pretty safe 16 inches away and cast this onto someone and just make it so they're not getting a charge and they just move that much slower. The next one is Stone Spikes, which you cast this on your own unit, and then anyone who declares a charge against you gains Decay 2, which means they roll 2 dice for each of their stands before they make their actions, and for any 5 or 6 they take a wound, which mean, that's okay, but you really don't want your Chapter Mage's unit getting charged, because if the unit gets broken, she gets called out in a duel, she's going to die. The unit, you probably don't want her up front. I mean, she's not really a combat character, right? So this is kind of a spell it's a utility spell, but you probably don't want her in the situation of where it would be good to cast it. And the last one, School of Fire, is 50 points. Kindle Courage is +1 resolve. There's just other ways to have high resolve in this army that I don't think you'd ever cast this. And then Fire Dart's pretty good with 3 success, 1 hit per success with armor piercing 2. And again, let me pull up to see the range of this, because I didn't put it on the slide here. 16 inches again, so that's pretty good, but I don't think with all of the ranged units that 100 Kingdoms has, that I'm looking to pay 50 points for someone that can just shoot, 16 inches, maybe 5 AP2 shots. I don't think we really need that. So I'm really looking at that School of Water and School of Air to get my most out of the cost of the Chapter Mage. That 50 point plus roughly 50 points for the School of Magic investment, you're getting a pretty good caster. But obviously in Conquest, the most interesting thing about taking characters is the Retinues and masteries, that you can kind of tweak what the character does or how effective they are at what they're doing on the tabletop, and the Chapter Mage is no exception. So a lot of these Retinues and masteries really, bump her up to the next level and make her kind of one of the scariest casters and healers in the game. And we'll start with the Retinues, and just for 10 points, you can give her +1 wizard level. That's awesome. Obviously, she gets the wizard level 6. That's just another chance to heal 2 guys back. That's just another chance to succeed in, having your shots not count as obscuring. I would take this every time with her for 10 points. It's a no-brainer. And then you're looking at Tier 2 is only 15 points. She gets the Bless special rule, which is fine. But then when you're doing a spellcasting action, the character stand treats all regiments as having 3 fewer stands for scaling purposes. So this is making 6 stands count as 3, and then it's not any harder to cast your spell. There's no +1 to cast it as far as scaling, which is awesome. So if you're casting any of those spells that require scaling that we talked about before, and casting on a 6-stand regiment, now it's no harder your 3s are still successes, and you don't have to worry about what you're rolling there. And then the last one, it's going to be 30 points. So at this stage, you're putting in 55 total points to get to Arcane Tier 3, but it just adds 1 success. So if you wanted to throw the full 55, you could really get a 6 dice healing Chapter Mage that gets 6 dice and counts an additional 1 to have super heals, basically. And then the Arcane Masteries for the Chapter Mage, the first one, Learned in the Occult. 35 points kind of seems like a lot, but she knows 1 spell from another school. This is really cool that she knows it. For the whole game, she can cast it whenever there's an opportunity. So if you make her a Water Mage, or if you make her an Air Mage, and she can cast that healing spell, or she can cast that, your shots don't count as an obscure spell when she doesn't need to heal, she can fill both dual roles, which is really cool. Not in this video, actually, I didn't include it, but there is a scroll as an heirloom for 15 points where she can not know a spell, but cast 1 spell from another school once per game. And that just is a little cheaper, so if you're running low on points, you could do that where maybe you want that heal once per game, or you want to shoot the fire darts once per game. That's always good to have in your back pocket if you don't want to spend the 35 points for Learned in the Occult. Magus, you increase any of your non-scaling spell attunement value by 1, so it's just easier to cast a bunch of the spells. I really don't think she needs this if she's taking the arcane levels, because really a lot of them are difficulty 3, which is not super hard to do, and you're going to roll enough dice probably to cast anyway. Cautious Casting's 15, so this requires you to have Tier 2 and Arcane already, so that's bumping up the cost of this, even though this is only 15, and it only gives you a once per game reroll of all dice for your spell casting. And I just think 15 points for that is pretty expensive when you can just take the reroll in the Arcane Tier 3, or count as the success, not the reroll. Focus, the character stand may reroll 1 die during any spellcasting action. This could be very good, just to make sure you're getting your spells off. As you can see, a lot of these are useful, and the arcane retinues are useful. She can become a super expensive character very quickly, so really you just need to figure out how much points you're willing to spend on a chapter mage and what her role is going to be in your army. If she's the linchpin of your plan, obviously you need to make sure the spell goes off, so you want to put a lot of points into her. But if she's really there to just cast Seeking Winds or just heal a little bit, you don't want to throw 200 points into this chapter mage. Wisdom Caster is where we left off. 15 points, but this requires you to be tier 3 in Arcane Retinue. You get tier 1 tactical retinue abilities. Nope, not taking that basically. Death Cult is Thea's Priest. I was reading down the actual army builder, not the video that I made, which probably wasn't a great idea. Mystic Wards is her last one for 10 points. And any regiment she joins, you can resist the K1, and then you can reroll all defense rolls caused by the Aura of Death special rule. This is pretty specific if you're playing Spires or if you're playing Old Dominion, but I mean, it might be good. It just depends. If you're playing those two factions, like going into a tournament, odds are you're going to play Spires or Old Dominion. Is it worth 10 points to have just her unit do it? Probably not. You probably don't want her unit up there engaged and taking any Aura of Death or Decay. So maybe just don't spend the 10 points and play her where she's just behind your front lines, healing, or in that shooting unit. So that's my quick overview of the Chapter Mage. I actually have one in my army that I'm going to use on the January 7th tournament. Just in a unit of Men-at-Arms, and she's there solely to be, the School of Water, to heal. I haven't decided if I'm going to throw in knowing the Learner from the Occult, knowing one spell from their school, or just the scroll to cast it once. We'll see how many points I can finagle. When I get the list finalized and get some practice games in, I'll definitely do a video of my list before the tournament, and then I'll do some coverage of the tournament come right after the week of January 7th. Thanks for listening, everybody, and good luck on your Conquest games out there. If you enjoyed the video today, definitely like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot to grow the channel, to know that people want more Conquest content out there. And I am affiliated with Frontline Gaming. I write articles over on their website, and if you just look in the video description, there's an affiliate link. If you need any Conquest models or any other models for the war games they sell, definitely check that out. They sell everything at a pretty good discount, and they've been awesome as far as supporting me putting the Conquest articles up there, and there'll definitely be more of those to come in the future.